Yo, what is good, dev guys? Welcome back. In this video, I want to actually get started with the coding behind getting our widget to connect with our modular character preview. So first, let's open up this modular character selection screen and just take a look at the amazing things that we've done so far. So we have these buttons here that filter out the different icons. Whenever we do something with an icon, nothing happens. So that in my mind means that we need to start with the icon. So if we go to our UI folder, not the materials, but the actual UI folder, and we go to this item icon, you can see right here that this icon is not actually a button or anything like that. And I believe that this is set to not hit testable. So we could do one or two things. You see this, there's an event you can bind to on mouse button down, which basically lets you click on this and do something to it. But I believe it needs to be, okay, it is visible. Okay, so we can do a test here to check and see if we're able to click on this widget. So there's a function here on when the mouse drags over or hovers over on mouse enter. Here we go. So whenever the mouse enters, let's just print a string here saying that we hovered an icon, and this will let me know where we need to approach this from next. So let's just see if we see that pop up here. There we go. Hovered an icon, hovered an icon. You see that? Okay, so now we can start doing certain things where whenever we click on an icon, we call some code. So let's override on mouse button down. I think this would be the best way to go about it, is that it should be like one click and not two clicks. We just need to return handled here. And inside of here, when the mouse button is down, there's a couple ways we can do this, because basically right now this icon only knows about the icon widget and the icon slot, but we don't actually know any real data here. So whenever we set this icon up, I might pass it the data that we might need to pass on to the character. So I'm gonna go back to this and I'm gonna close some of these things so that they're not in my way. I'm gonna go back to this character selection screen, go to this graph, and whenever we set up our widget here, or our icon widget, here I need to probably pass it. I'm gonna pass it all of these different I'm gonna pass this entire character body part. It needs to know about all of this. So I'm gonna pass it this entire value right here. So let's add that as an option here. So the F character body part, and let's just put the body part here. And honestly, we can get rid of this slot, because now we can just break the body part and we get the slot given to us here. We can keep a soft reference to both of these things here, but realistically what I'm going to do is just keep a reference to this entire struct on the widget. Now this might seem like something that you wouldn't do, but I'm gonna be real, like, this is just client side of things. It's just icons and skeletal meshes. I don't think giving them access to any of this would be a problem. The only thing that could be a problem was if these references were hard references, and then that would cause an issue where each icon is referencing a bunch of materials, a bunch of different parts and things like that. That could get bad, but with this, we're using soft references, so everything should work out pretty fine. All right, so now what we could do is whenever the player clicks on this icon, we can communicate to the preview, as long as it's in the world, that we want to display whatever this icon is holding reference to. So we need to also pass this here. Let me refresh this node. This icon is actually holding a lot of data. I'm gonna delete this. We can just pass this directly in. And what I'm also noticing is that this icon is not getting enough data. And in order for me not to go into each icon and try to find all actors of class of our modular character skin, I'm gonna just do it once inside of this function here, or inside of this widget here. So whenever it's constructed, it is in the world. So we should be able to find actors, or is it get actors of class? There we go. We can get actor of class, and let's do modular character preview. That's what we want, this exact one. And we'll get this one, and then we'll set this as our character preview, and we'll pass this ultimately to our icon widget. So let's make our icon widget also take in a character preview. And really we'll make it, yeah, I'm gonna do character preview because it'll just be easier just to do these functions in Blueprint. So this is our character preview, and we'll store this as well. So now we have access to the parts and the character that we want to communicate with. So now we just need to, create the actual communication between the two, like what functions the button will need to call or the icon will need to call on this actual character preview. So I'm gonna edit this and do it in Blueprint. And of course, I would feel comfortable making this in C++, but I do want to, get back to my regular life of programming and be done with this tutorial series. So this is easily convertible to C++, the code I'm about to show you guys, but I'm gonna do it in Blueprint. I'm gonna make a custom event to show new part. Instead of making our widget load anything, I'm gonna just pass the part in to this actual function here, and then we'll do all the code inside of here. That way we're not loading and unloading things inside of our widget. So save this, and let's take an input into here, and this is going to be a character body part, and this is the new part. And if we compile that, basically all we need to do whenever we mouse button down is communicate to our character preview if it is valid. Not that one, use the macro. So if this character preview is valid, then we want to reach out to it and say show new part, and we're going to pass it the body part, and then we'll say that this has been handled. And just to test this out, what we can do whenever this function is called, let's just set one of these, and I don't know if I made these blueprints read write. Yeah, I might have not made these blueprint read right. Let me check in the code. Oh yes, okay, we're good. All right, so let's just set one of these meshes. Let's set it to something hard referenced. So we can say set skeletal mesh, and really I think it's supposed to be skinned. Okay, they set skin asset and update. This function is going to be deprecated, so don't use this one. So let's just set this arms. Oh no, not the arms. Let's do it for the torso. And let's get the jacket, and we'll just show that this will work as a test. Okay, we'll pass it the jacket, and let me go ahead and test this out. So let's go full screen. Let's press T here. And then whenever we press one of these, it should. Okay. Okay. That's not working. So stop. And then let's go to the item icon. And is this not valid? Here. Let's put a print string here. Whoops. I don't think it's that the preview is not valid. I don't think the actual mouse button down is working. Nope, the preview is not valid. It says okay. don't know how that's happening. So let's go to the modular character selection. Oh, I'm actually an idiot. We're not passing it through yet. Really, we're just not passing it through to here. Okay, so now we should be able to test this and see that when we click this, we put the jacket on. But what's going to happen is whenever we click it, it's going to set it to the jacket every time. So now that we know that mouse action works, let's actually do this the right way. So let's come to the icon and close it down. I'm gonna get rid of this print string. The icon is good to go. The modular character selection screen is good to go. The modular character preview is where we need to work now. So whenever we get this new part, we want to first break this structure, and then off of this slot, we want to make a switch similar to what we did inside of the blueprints, or I'm sorry, inside of the C++, where we switched off of this slot and loaded and assigned different things based off of that. So if it's the head, we want to load this asset here, cast this to a skeletal mesh. Once we know it's a skeletal mesh, and I wish I could make let me see, I could probably make this a custom event, and let's just do that so that we don't have so many wires. Custom event, and we'll call this load skeletal mesh, and this will take in a soft object pointer, and whenever this is done, it'll load the skeletal mesh. Oh, I can't make it return though, but since we're switching, we can actually set this to the loaded mesh. So I'm gonna promote this to a variable and say that this is the loaded mesh, and that way we can use it down here. We'll get the head, we'll call load skeletal mesh, pass it the good old part mesh, and let's make another event for this the same way, but we'll call it load anim bp, and this will take in I think this is a class reference here. Let me load this async load class assets, get this guy, we'll cast this to an anim instance class, and then return this as the loaded anim instance, and we only want to do this when it's completed. So we'll load the skeletal mesh, we will load the anim BP because the head has the anim BP. Now the only thing that sucks about this is that whenever we load these, even though we have references to them, technically this line of this string of code does not know when it's actually loaded. So inside of this actual function, instead of I did this backwards. So it's better to do it like this and have this take in the slot. All right, this is another reason why I hate Blueprint, because it just looks so messy. You can see I don't got my electric nodes plugin turned on inside of this project, but I don't plan on using that many blueprints. Okay, so I am going to get rid of this. We don't need the references now. But that is the plus of Blueprint, is that it's so easy to remove and add things and fix your mistakes. So once this thing has casted to a skeletal mesh, I want to switch off of this body part, and if it's the head, we want to get this and say set skeletal, or set skinned asset and update, and we'll pass it the mesh here. I don't actually like doing the string like that. That bothers my brain, so I will promote this to a variable. This is the loaded mesh. I'm sorry, that bothers me. I thought it wasn't, but it does. I'm sorry. I wish I was better, but Jesus Christ. The reason I really don't use blueprints is because it literally messes with my OCD. It bothers the shit out of me. Here, and we will set it to this new class. Even though we haven't made an anim instance yet, that is something that we will do in the series. Show you how to do the copy or the retarget to pose setup as well. So no worries, we'll get it all working all the way through. All right, so when we call show new body part, we want to load the skeletal mesh passing the slot and load the anim BP passing the slot. And realistically, I don't even want to call load anim BP unless this is equal to head. And then that'll save us from doing that check on the other side, because this function won't even fire unless this is equal to head. That way we don't keep calling it for no reason and checking for no reason. We just check once, and if it's equal to head, we'll just pass it through. So we can get rid of this guy. And we can get rid of this check as well. And you guys can put comments around your blueprints if you like. Okay, so yeah, whenever we do this guy, so this needs to be organized in a better way. And I'll take these two nodes and we're just basically passing it, just basically passing it the part that it goes with. Here for torso, we're looking at torso. For arms, and I'll organize this in a little bit. For arms, we're looking at arms. And then for legs, we're looking at legs. Jesus Christ. Okay. I think I am going to get out of this blueprint before my brain blows up. Okay. So now we can probably test this inside the editor, since we have the code that we need for everything. And we'll go ahead and save this, and now we should be able to, in theory, press play here, go full screen, press T, and we only have one head, so it doesn't make a difference. We only have one hand, but we have a few torsos here. You can see that they're changing when we click on them. Everything updates, the mesh updates, and we go to the legs. We got these legs and these legs, and you can see them being soft loaded in, and they kind of like load in slow and then they finish in. But yeah, you can go through and swap all your different meshes here. And I know there's not a lot of meshes to swap through, but just imagine you got you an artist that's just cranking out different parts that you can plug in and so on and so forth. And that's all I really wanted to cover in this video. In the next video, we're actually going to wrap up this section, and then we're going to move on into the saving and loading system, which is actually required for this system to kind of work in the actual game. So if you guys are ready for that, I'll see you guys in the next videos. Peace.